We have a great group of folks and counting, so I think we're going to go ahead and kick off. And as folks join, I just might send a few reminders as I see more folks joining the meeting. But welcome, everyone. We are here with MIT Solve and the e-ink team for the e-ink Innovation Prize Application Clinic. We're so excited. This is a pretty unique opportunity with the e-ink team. And my name is Eliza. I am the learning lead here at MIT Solve. I'm also joined by Alexander and Eliana on the Solve team. I will just a few quick housekeeping notes if folks don't mind keeping yourselves muted and off video for now. If you're on video, that's totally fine. But just for the sake of the recording, it makes things a little bit easier. We will invite you to come back on video once we get to the Q&A portion of the meeting. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started and just wanted to also let everyone know that we are recording so that we can share this out with folks who, weren't able to be here live today. All right. Hopefully folks can see my slides all right. So for those of you who don't already know about MIT Solve, a brief introduction, we are an initiative of MIT. And of course, we believe that achieving a more sustainable and equitable future will require bringing in as many folks and new voices and ideas as possible. So what we do is we run open innovation challenges, which means that we are helping to source, select, and support really exceptional social entrepreneurs and social innovation solutions to some of the most pressing challenges in areas like learning and education, climate, health, economic prosperity, et cetera. So through these challenges, the selected innovators and their teams get the backing of MIT and, of course, the broader Solve community of supporters to help them on their scaling journeys. I am going to just actually, skip over most of this because we have the e-ink team here and they're going to be sharing a little bit more about who they are and what they do. But just as a little teaser, e-ink is the originator, pioneer, and commercial leader in e-paper technology. So really excited to have the team here to be able to actually show you their technology and some of the products that they have. So there is some more information here about e-ink as well. For those of you who are joining, who are potential applicants or applicants to the 2025 Global Challenges, these are the 5 challenges that are open right now until April 17th. If we have time after the application clinic, I will share some more tips and kind of pointers for you as you're applying to the Global Challenges. And then, of course, since this prize is also open to our portfolio of innovators, some of you might already be solvers here on the webinar today. And I'm going to hand it to Alexander, who's our Director of Global Challenges, to just briefly introduce the prize itself.
Hi, everyone. It's great to see so many people here and for such an exciting event on our side. Within our global challenges each year, we always are honored to have a set of prize funders that we work with. And those are organizations that care deeply about innovation in particular contexts, in particular topic areas. And what we're really excited for with the e-ink Innovation Prize is that this is the first time that we're taking a very tech-specific lens and working with technology that certainly has some MIT roots, has a lot of benefits from an environmental perspective and a huge amount of flexibility, and offering that to see what types of innovation and new ideas for social impact all of you are coming up with. And so this is our first foray into this level of tech specificity for a prize. We're excited that it's open to all the different challenge areas. So it doesn't matter which of our global challenges you're applying for, where in our portfolio you are, you're eligible for this. But open to teams that are going to use this e-paper technology in one of its many forms, which the team will show in a few minutes, to address social impact, whether that's architectural and sustainability pieces, whether that's educational approaches, whether that's different economic prosperity or intercultural aspects. There's a huge range of what we can see possibilities for. And one of the amazing things about working at Solve is that we get to see what all of you have, which is always coming up with ideas beyond what we had conceived of as possible, with grounding in community, with grounding in impact. And so very excited to have this, and very excited to share a little bit more about the technology and hopefully hear some of your questions on how it might be used and what might come out of this prize. Eliza, back over to you.
Great. So here are just a few members of the e-ink team, some of which you will see on camera, some of which are sort of behind the scenes at the e-ink offices. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to the e-ink team to go through some presentation and demos of their technology. Just pull up their slides. All
Say
right.
hi, ink team.
Hey,
Hello. How you doing?
good morning or good evening, wherever you are. Yeah, excited to be here. Thank you very much. My name is Tim O'Malley. Work in the Boston area close to MIT, and we'll introduce each of ourselves as we go through the presentation. The idea is that we'll introduce e-ink a little bit, introduce the technology a little bit, introduce the benefits, and then we'll talk through some of the applications that we already have a little bit going on to sort of seed the ground for people to come up with some new ideas. E-ink has a long history with MIT. Spun out from the Media Lab in 1997. You can see in the lower left a picture of Professor Jacobson and his two students. They're not students in this picture, but they were at the time. JD and Barrett, that helped found the company. Since then, we've installed more than 1 billion displays, e-paper displays worldwide. And these three have been inducted into the National Inventors Hall of Fame. Those had pretty big impact for a long history with one of the most successful spin-outs from the media. At this point, we are now a global company. E-ink was purchased by a Taiwan company who's changed its name in recognition of the value of e-ink. It's now E-ink Holdings. That company was founded in 1992, and it was one of the pioneers in making TFT displays, setting up one of the first fabs in Taiwan. We continue to invest in the technology with acquisitions like Pacific's acquisition, which gives us a presence in Northern California as well as the presence in Taiwan and China. We also have some sales offices worldwide. Notably, we have over 6,000 worldwide patents and over 2,000 patents in the US. So we've created a strong and robust technology base to go after the benefits of e-ink applications in many different ways. Let me just take a moment to try and explain how e-ink works. Fundamentally, there's small particles. You can think of them as the same type of paint chips that are in an inkjet printer. Those little droplets that come out of the inkjet that have particles in them, maybe cyan, magenta, yellow, and black for a typical inkjet. We have particles just like that in small containers, think 10 to 25 microns, that can move up and down. And you can see the different variations here on the slide. Iconically, our first products were black and white particles that could move up and down. They could mix, so they could make grays. And that's how we would make our paper-like look, the white and the black, into displays that could be controlled dynamically by controlling the movement of the particles. Over time, we improved that technology. In the first step, and you can see this in the top middle, there's a color filter on top with the black and white underneath. Then we added a third particle, red. You can see that in the upper right. So black, white, red. And in this case, and in all of them, effectively, the color that you see is what the pigment at the top surface is. So imagine the eye is looking down from the top surface. Then we added another particle. So you can see that in the bottom left, basically all of the bottom three, there are 4 particle systems that can do anywhere from 4 colors, the bottom left, to all colors on the bottom right, and 6 primaries in the bottom middle. And so we continue to push the envelope, starting with that iconic black and white, to now a full color display system that can be used in a variety of applications, but still maintains this core technology principle of moving those particles carefully and controlled in a small space in order to get that visual look that the observer can see. With the key benefit that when we take the power away in any one of these, the particles stay right where we left them. So we have some displays on the wall in our building here that have been maybe 20 years unplugged and still show the same image. So that's a long time for it to show an image with it. It's a very brief introduction to the technology, but we'll use that to step into what are some of the benefits from making a display in this type of way. One of the key benefits that we've always talked about is that it's a bistable. So it's stable, and we say bi because originally black and white, by either state. And when you pull that power, that's all that's needed to hold the image effectively forever. That creates a situation that has essentially the same benefits of paper. When Professor Jacobson was first conceiving of the idea of e-ink, he was thinking of a student in South America at the time that should have access to the same libraries that Joe Jacobson had at MIT. And he wanted to make that available. And to do that, you needed a paper-like display, but also a low-power display. And that's where the bistability comes in. In addition, it's reflective. So reflective in this case means it doesn't generate any light on its own. So when you think of your phone or your computer screen or your TV, it is pushing light out at you through the polarizer and through the other aspects of that display stack to get to your eye the colors that you see. In this case, we're using the ambient light, just like paper does when you look reading a book. It's reflecting the light, the reading light around you, better in sunlight. And that means lower power again, but it also means it has what we call a Lambertian effect, which means as you tilt from any angle, you can still see the display, just like when you have a piece of paper and you look at it at an angle, you can still see it as well. So it gives you the no blue light because it's not creating a display, no backlight, non-emissive Lambertian effect paper. You can see a picture here of what a typical module from e-ink would look like. You can see the capsule stack with the particles in it as a small part of the diagram. The TFT, which is the pixels, the XY pixels, are underneath it, and some protective layers are around it. And that's typically the embodiment that people are used to seeing the e-ink displays in. And I'll highlight 2 of those applications in a minute. But you can imagine an XY pixel display, just like your computer screen, but with the moving particle film sitting on top. When we say low power, it's useful to just take a second and think about what that means, explain it in a little more detail. If we compare a typical sign, in this case, a bus stop sign, these are usually 2 displays that are about monitor size, stacked on top of each other. The installations of many of these signs using e-ink are done with solar panels. And the reason for that is because we don't want to necessarily have to dig up the concrete, run power cables to that location in order to generate, in this case, the small amount of power that's needed by an e-ink display. So you can see the graphical comparison of the amount of power that a typical display would need to support this type of application, telling you how long till the next bus comes, what the route is, maybe there's some additional information for riders, a safety phone number, or something else that might be going around in the city. So the content is being updated periodically. And when it's not being updated, it's not drawing any power. And because of the stability of the ink display and its low power nature, you can see it can be anywhere from a 30 times less to 120 times less compared to a traditional display. And that, let's call it 1% power usage, is a big factor in the benefits of an e-ink display and going into unique applications where it's harder for other places to go. So let's, yep. Thank you, Eliza. And then, of course, when I say paper-like, it's also useful to just step a little bit into what that benefit means and describe it better. So here I'm trying to show through a picture that's probably on a emissive glowing display what a paper non-glowing display looks like compared to another piece of paper that's not glowing. It's a little bit tough on this, but forgive me. In general, on the left-hand side, what we're trying to show is that that e-ink display effectively looks just like paper. And a typical LCD with its RGB stripes and its true type anti-aliasing will tend to have a bit more coloration, will tend to have a bit more angular dependence, and less of the reflective color experience. It's hard to show on this particular medium. So if you have a display, you can see it that way. In addition, there are many places where using an e-ink display, an EPD, is being used like paper to write on. And here we're trying to show that writing can feel and look just like writing on paper. Typically, the pen tip will be very close, so you don't have the glass parallax that you'll get to with a typical glass LCD display. And you also get that reflective pencil on paper experience. And some of our displays are also flexible, again, similar to paper, where we're using plastic backplanes so they can be shatterproof and very lightweight. We typically treat them as lightweight, not so much as a flexible display. But this enables some of those products to be larger in size because the larger size still doesn't come with the weight of 2 pieces of glass, and it's still convenient to carry and hold. So these are the ways that it can be like paper. Being like paper is one of the key things that got e-ink started, and it's probably best known application. So here you can see the timeline of the e-readers moving up to e-readers with pen, so e-readers plus e-note capability, from the first one in 2004, which was a Sony launch in Japan, to perhaps the best known one, which was the Amazon Kindle announced in 2007, and all these other brands that have come out and announced different versions of e-readers globally and worldwide. This is primarily because it removes the distribution and production required for books and makes it instantaneous for somebody to get that reading content, democratizing reading and access to the written word, while still providing this reading experience that's very akin to paper. And this has become a large portion of the business and well known across many different continents and applications and types. I hope many people have seen this one. Whenever I'm on a plane, I see lots of people using them, and that's very gratifying. If that's the best known application, perhaps the best kept secret is in smart retail. So we have over 1 billion displays installed in stores worldwide. These displays are, very small on the shelf tags. They're typically showing the UPC code and the price of the goods that's on the shelf, maybe a little bit more information about it, but they look like paper. So many times people are in the store walking around and they don't even notice that there's e-ink tags throughout the store. You can imagine that updating the tags, in some cases, a store will have 100,000 or 120,000 individual shelf tags, requires on a weekly basis, printing out the tags, shipping them to the store location, unpacking them from the box, having a person take out the old paper tags, throw them away, hopefully recycle, but probably throw them away, and put the new ones on. It's a laborious experience. Moving into the age of IoT and smart retail, we can put shelf tags into these stores that will last 5 to 10 years on coin cell batteries. And so now you have the ability to, if you wanted to, have an RFID that connects to the product right above it on the shelf. You have the ability to connect it to the point of sale so that you can update the pricing and the information remotely and keep everything accurate and up to date throughout the store without all the expense and waste of the printing and installation. And here you can also see the different types of color that have been used in this environment. So if those are some of the key applications that we're best known for, let's just talk about some of the capabilities, and I'll turn it over to Steve O'Neill.
Hi, I'm Steve O'Neill. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our segmented display program. So as Tim mentioned, we have a broad range of displays, different technologies, different materials, things of that nature. The segmented program is different from the matrix program in the way that the displays are made. Segmented displays are not dynamic. They do not, you can't put an emoji on it. You can't take a picture and put it on. What you define on the display is what you will see. We call it a backplane, and we do a specific design on the backplane for the customer, and that's what you get in the end product. So what we have here on the screen are a few products that we've had in the market, some of them for up to about 20 years. The first one is one by InView. So InView does a lot of retail locks like you'll see in the store to protect merchandise. They needed a display that was small, low power, being able to see whether it is locked or unlocked. It shows either a white circle or a black circle. And they had to have a clear lens in the middle because they use an IR key to switch the lock open and closed. So when they came to us, we designed a display that fit their needs. And if you see the small area in the left-hand corner, we also were able to design it so that we could put features in there that would aid in their assembly in the form of some tooling holes. The next display is by Abbott's Diabetes Care. So this display has been used by Abbott for almost 20 years now. We've sold hundreds of millions to them. They wanted a display that was light, shatterproof, and in this case, they also wanted to be able to put buttons behind the display where the user could interact with the display to check different readings or do different functions on the display. So if you see at the bottom of the display, there are some circles there. They're actually buttons or popples behind the display that you press through the display to interact with. The next one is a fitness meter from YThings. Certainly not as dynamic as what you see on some smartwatches today, but it was a very basic way for them to be able to show information about how many steps you've taken, what your activity level is, had all the same sensors as a typical fitness monitor, but one of the unique things is it had a button right in the middle of the display, so you could change functions on the display at that same time. Next one is by Empatica in the lower left-hand side. So they needed something that was very low power. This is actually something they use for medical purposes. Lots of features on the display, and they need it for the same reason that most do: low power, lightweight, shatterproof. Next to that, you'll see one of our development kits. So we have many development kits available on the market. This one actually is available through DigiKey. And what you can do is you can purchase this kit, and it has a number of displays that you can use with the kit. So you can try different sequences, different drive times. You can get all the information about driving the display, how the display is made, how you go about making a custom display. And it even includes a reference design for electronics for the display. And you'll see at the bottom of each display, they have a connector area. The connectors are very simple to work with your electronics. You can use a simple flat flex connector. You can use heat seal bonding, or you can use zebra strips. Virtually anything you could do with the regular display. And if you see the cross section there on the right, to use a Boston term, our displays are wicked thin. So the displays are roughly 0.4 to 0.6 millimeter at a maximum thickness, which means that you're not going to get a display that is less than a millimeter thick. So this shows you how we get from a display to a product. For the Abbott glucose meter, you may only see a couple things on the display in the actual product at a time. But then if you look to the right-hand side, you'll see what goes into all the functions on the display. So anything that you want to show, we design into a backplane so that it's there when you want to energize those portions of the display. At the top of the display, you'll see a bunch of connections. Every feature on the display has a single drive line, so you can turn them on and off at will. And what Abbott does is they take this display and they hot bond it to their printed circuit board for their end product.
Thanks, Steve.
All right. Thanks, Steve.
We turned it over to Pete to talk about some other stuff.
So if you don't want to do anything with a display, but still want to change the world, let's talk about our Prism products. So my name's Pete Valianatos. So we've been in the news recently where we've done a lot of things around fashion and design. And so E-Ink is uniquely positioned that we can do some really creative things. Since, as Tim mentioned, we do a lot of things with plastic where we don't need glass, we can actually cut some pretty intricate shapes. So on the left, we did a collaboration with Cream Guitar, where they wanted a color changing guitar for various reasons, right? To enhance the user experience, enhance the audience experience. But, you know, it's not as simple as just drawing a guitar. We had to make sure it was lightweight, that you could cut holes into it so that the actual pickups and the strings could be put in there. On the right side, we did a really nice collaboration with Delvaux Luxury House, where they actually stitched the E-Ink into their leather. So there they wanted to merge an old technique of leather making with e-paper displays. And so this was to enhance basically the customer experience. So what also makes E-Ink exciting for you that may want to play with it is it's really light and flexible, and you can literally cut it on demand. So in this little short clip, we're showing the ink switching. And if you need to do some rapid prototyping, some design thinking, you could use E-Ink pretty easily. I actually have a piece here where you can literally cut holes through the part. So that way, if there's something in your idea that needs light, a switch, or something that makes it much more interesting and feasible to cut holes in it, we can easily do that. And as Tim mentioned, as soon as you take the power off, that'll keep the last image or color that you keep. So if those were a little small, we've also been doing some things in the automotive space. BMW has been a great partner. And over the last few years, we did 3 show cars where we advanced basically the awareness of E-Ink and the capabilities. So in the top left, in 2022, we did a black and white car. And then all the way to 2024, the video is of this BMW i5 electric car called the iFlyFlow Nostacana, where it really shows the customization and basically artistry that can be shown using e-paper display. And like, as Tim mentioned, after the image is changed or the colors are changed, there's no power going to this display. So in keeping with both BMW and E-Ink sustainability mission, where you want this personalization, but you don't want to burn power, shine lights in people's eyes, and also like heat up the display. So this is a really nice use of E-Ink in automotive. And if you're a really big thinker and you think a car is too small, we could even cover buildings. So this slide shows an installation we did almost 8 years ago now, 2017, where we took 2,100 tiles that were autonomous. So basically, there's no wires going to these tiles. They each have a photovoltaic to energy harvest the sun. There's a supercapacitor, some antennas and electronics where you can talk to these tiles remotely. And so the goal of this installation was to basically change the appearance and feel of a building. So that way it's just not a stark building and adds interest to the community. This thing is over a third of a mile long, 500 meters, and basically will change the animation and the impact based on some metadata that the artist wanted to show. But this kind of shows that E-Ink is not just, you know, for small things that you have to keep inside. You want to put it on a building. You think that your idea needs to be in architecture. Please, we're welcome to see your ideas. So I'll hand it back over to Tim.
Yeah, and I just want to note, I've been at E-Ink for 25 years, which seems like a pretty long time. And Both of these guys have been here longer than I have. They're integral to the success that we've got so far on some of these creative projects. So, when we get to the questions, you're asking the right people. Just a couple notes to wrap up here. One, EPD is the choice for sustainable displays. As I mentioned, the low power benefit up at the beginning, we've made it part of our corporate brand and part of our corporate focus to bring our technology and to highlight our technology in ways that support sustainability efforts that are necessary these days. We are a member of the United Nations Global Compact. You can see some of the particular items from that list that we are associated with here. We have the only display that's dark sky approved by the International Dark Sky Association. In essence, light displays that give off light are not approved because they cause light pollution, and we are the only one that provides the digital display experience without giving off light. All of our products contribute, we say something like 99% of our revenue is a product in the direction of sustainability. So as part of our corporate mission, working with MIT Solve is very exciting because it fits exactly with what we're trying to do as a company. So as we think of smart cities and the future of a connected world, created a little graphic that shows all the different ways there might be some use for e-ink in that smart city vision, whether that's e-notes, which you can see in the middle for education, or bus stop signs, or luggage tags. So there are luggage tags. Alaska Air has a luggage tag, doesn't have any battery, it runs on NFC. Can't have a battery because carrying batteries on, putting batteries in checked luggage is not allowed. And yet the display can still update and then hold the image. You can control it from your phone, etc. So we've come up with some concepts in the world in this vision of what might be possible, but we're very excited to be partnering with MIT Solve to see what creative people can come up with and push the envelope. I've seen a lot of questions come in on the chat. So I think what I should do is turn it back over to Eliza a little bit and see if she can help guide us through some questions. And the three of us will figure out how to answer a few of them as we go.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Tim and team. I know I was sitting here really fascinated with everything. So it's just really cool technology. And I'm sure folks on the webinar are also really interested in some of these applications. So I know a bunch of questions came up in the chat already. So I'm going to go ahead and start to look through those. And in the meantime, if folks want to come off mute and just ask your question, please do so. You can use the raise hand feature in Zoom. That'll make things a little bit easier for me as I help with the Q&A portion. So go ahead and use that Zoom raise hand feature, and then I'll start going through some of the questions in the chat.
Let me speak first. There's a question in the chat that I think is broadly applicable on who is eligible and when the selection and stuff will happen. If I can speak quickly to that piece. This prize is available to two sets of innovators. One is innovators that have previously been selected through a Solve Challenge, which we're thinking of as our portfolio. And I know that we have many of our portfolio teams on the call, but it's also open to any new teams that are selected for our 2025 challenges. So if you are on the call and you are excited about what you're seeing with this technology, because there's so many different opportunities, and you have a solution that you are working on, you should submit it to the 2025 challenges, and we will select probably 1 to 3 teams that are between the 2025 solvers, which will select about 30, and then our broader portfolio. So you do have to get selected as a solver in order to be eligible for the prize. But I have confidence that if you're coming up with really creative things to do with this technology, you're also solving big problems and we'd love to have you as a solver. In terms of selection timeline, the challenges are open until April 17th. So you have about 2 weeks to get your applications in. We'll do selection over the summer. And so teams will find out whether they're selected as a 2025 solver by August, and we'll bring those teams to New York And we'll announce the prize in New York City on September 22nd as part of UN General Assembly Week and Climate Week. So it'll be a good fancy event to go launch at. I'll stop intervening there and let us get to some technical questions, but just wanted to clear up that process piece.
Thank you, Alexander.
All right, I see RD, go ahead with your question. I'm collecting some of the others from the chat.
Hi, thank you for this this introduction. I have a couple of questions. The first is, what is the sort of technical process for Solver or selected Solver team? So I see on the e-ink website that there are developer kits that will be available again soon. I was wondering if you could talk about that. My other question is, has e-ink ever been used in phones, either, you know, as prototypes or something, you know, that's gone to market?
You want to start with that one? On the kit side?
You could go.
I'll take the phone, you take the.
Oh, I'll take the kits. Yeah, I think as part of the solve, we may bypass the kit store, so that way we could give you a little more access to that. But if you need anything, reach out to Eliza and the solve team, and then we'll work together with MIT to get you the materials and the electronics that you may need. So when we get to that point, that's for sure. If you don't want to wait till August to find out, yeah, let's figure out if we can get you something beforehand. But I think we're going to let the selection process work out. But yeah, obviously somebody's ideas will need some support in terms of materials, electronics, and some guidance from e-ink.
Yeah. Sure. So this is the first time doing an MIT Solve Prize for us, so that we are working out the bugs on the kits and stuff like that, materials. So don't hesitate to ask. On the phone side, there has been displays, and there are phones using e-ink displays. So there was a Light phone, there's a Hisense phone, there was a Yoda phone, where people built a phone and the only display they had was an EPD. There are also cases where people are building essentially personalized phone covers. So you could put your custom image onto your phone case and then change it a minute later, and then change it a minute later. So there are both applications in the area of a phone where there's an ink display on the front, or depending on usage, an ink display on the back. So far.
There's the Motophone too.
And the Motophone.
Oh,
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
That's part of my life.
Your
life.
Probably the biggest one.
Yeah.
Hope that answers the question.
Yes, thank you.
I see some raised hands, so let's go to Cornelius.
Hi, good morning there by you. I
Yeah.
think it's afternoon here in South Africa. I have a question. I'm a diabetic, so and I am on dialysis. But with the diabetic insulin pumps, there's always the problem with the technology coming. It doesn't connect properly. I've realized that there's either because they don't use near field communication, that can be the problem, because it's mostly Bluetooth. So if you move away from the phone or the stuff, then they don't, your guardian or your parents don't pick up on the readings and everything. So if that e-ink paper works with near field communication, is there no way that maybe a device can be developed maybe to incorporate in a diabetic pump or something like that?
Sure. You want to start?
Sure. I mean, as we mentioned before, that we have the luggage tags, which use near field communication already. So incorporating something like that through one of our partners or the display wouldn't be the limiting factor, but that's certainly possible.
Oh, okay. Do you mind me asking another question?
Nope.
With the MIT Solve, I'm also taking part in the global health campaign. So I am developing the app, but the apps, if you can put anything right on a that e-ink paper, if I'm correct.
Yep.
So long as it has functionality and integration software to handle the e-ink paper.
I think your question is about how to get an image onto the display. And yes, typically the processing on the electronics, which is included in the kit, can be simply done as sending an image. It converts it to the appropriate, let's call it electronic and voltages in order to get the display activated. And then that image shows up. So that's handled in the processing that you can either do in your own custom electronics or use one of the kits for.
Okay. So it's basically like when back in the day, you can see where they were, how old I am, where the old projectors used to have that sheet you used to put on the projector, and it went onto a screen. So you basically, if I'm understanding it correctly, you took the projector and the projector screen, made it into one, and that sheet that was usually put on the layer there of where it's shown up to the mirrored the image. It's basically that sheet that was mirrored onto the what do you say, the projector screen. So it's basically 3-in-1 that was into technology. If I am correct or not correct, I don't know.
Transparencies, that goes back a day.
Yes, I don't know what those
Yeah.
are. No. Yeah. That's one way to look at it. I think, if you have a lot more detailed questions, I think Eliza will have our contact information. We could get back to you on all those questions. But yeah, going through how e-ink works more in depth than what Tim did will take the rest of the time. So yeah, let's take that offline.
Great.
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe,
Thanks.
Thanks, Graham.
Thank
the
you.
lightning round here of like, is the
Yeah.
tech affected by magnetic fields? I'm just going to pull a bunch from chat quickly.
No,
That's the question again, Alex?
Is it affected by magnetic fields?
no.
Lightning round, no.
Intentionally, yeah. Intentionally, we
Okay.
do not want magnets to affect it. So we use what we call electrophoretic fields, which is moving particles in a voltage field. So it's not current, it's actually voltage. And that's how, as Tim said, we're moving the particles back and forth to the top of the display. So
Great.
yes.
Next one.
Is user interaction, can you interact with the services with like a finger versus a stylus? I know I've seen lots of people using the tablets for writing. Can you do that without a stylus?
Yeah, so that depends on what the touch integration is. Some touch solutions are finger capable, and some require EMR a special pen, and some require an active pen. So it depends on the integration of the touch layer that is chosen. Some can do that.
Great.
But now almost 100% of all e-readers have a touch panel integrated in them. So,
Okay. What's the most three-dimensional thing that you've done for e-ink? I guess the guitars, the purses, the cars, but have you done it is intentionally a very thin piece versus like a volumetric approach?
yeah. Yeah, the most three-dimensional probably was the BMW iX Flow, where we actually used the advantage of cutting it through so we could actually shape it around the curves. Where we had to cut the film actually made it a little inactive, but it still left the rest working. We are working on seeing how we can get more conformable and 3D shapes. That's in the roadmap for research to work on. It's a hard problem to solve because the electrodes and everything else also need to stretch. And so electronics aren't typically stretchy, but we support a lot of initiatives to work on conformable and thermoformable type of applications in the future.
Cool. can you give an example of how the information on a tablet comes out? So if someone is taking notes on a tablet in a medical setting or other things, how easy is it to turn that information into, digital text for long-term usage or analysis?
That's Keynote, that's you.
Yeah, I'll take it. So in most of the eNote applications, they have a touch panel on the front. So as you touch the pen to the surface, that touch panel will know where you are. It will communicate that information to the electronics, which sends it right back to the display and then turns that pixel on. At the same time, it can capture where you are. So as you write strokes, draw a picture, it's capturing all that information digitally, just as any touch solution would. And in most of the eNote products, they'll save that locally to a file, which then can be synced with the cloud. And so you could access it on other devices as well. It would be the same digital information, the pen strokes captured via the touch. So you can think of it as, in one case, the EPD is showing you the information that is captured from the touch panel in the pen. And then once that's in the cloud, you can show that same information on any device you want. It could be the eNote or it could be your phone. The eNote solution I use right now, the Remarkable Paper Pro, has cloud integration, so I can put stuff from my computer onto my eNote, write on it, and then see those notes back in the cloud software.
Okay. Final one here, and then we'll get to some more hands. The backplane can be programmed through the pixel layer versus needing a custom circuit. Talking about the other sense of and maybe that was already answered. Celeste, let us know if that's still a question.
I kind of missed it, but can you ask it again? And I think that's for Steve.
I was kind of wondering, I know when we were looking at the diagram earlier, thank you for asking this question for me, but probably not saying it right. But I understand there was a layer that held that was kind of protected in the center that would kind of hold the XY plane or like where the display would be for that. And I was just wondering if that can just be like a full pixel layer where you don't have to have that. I saw some of the displays like for looks like a monitor sort of had kind of that pre-rendered layout on the circuit board. And I'm wondering if that is not required.
It depends on the need of the design. I mean, you can have a very large area that just switches black and white, like feet showing, or you can have something more elaborate, like you saw on the Abbott display, where they have over 96 individual areas that they're going to be switching.
Okay, so if you wanted to, so like the pre-rendering of that circuit board could be, 30 by 30 pixels, essentially. That
Absolutely.
could be. Okay, okay, now I understand. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Sorry.
you got it.
And by the way, all our displays are gluten-free and contain no lactose,
Yeah.
just in case someone's going to ask that one.
Great.
But just to add also, as we get further, there are design rules for how to design a backplane. So if you're in that category of, I want to design something, Steve has done a nice job documenting that. So we'll also guide you through how do you design a segmented backplane if it's needed for you.
Thank you. Nice.
All right, let's go to some hands. Saliba, go ahead.
Hello. Thank you all for your time. I want to make sure if I understand the application for going further in, let's say, design new ideas or the new use. First of all, we can, let's say, upload image, let's say, every 3 seconds, different image. That can be done. Okay,
Yes,
great.
yeah.
Because I'm already working in product development. I did some, let's say, smart carts, shopping carts. I did it self-sanitizing already. So I'm working on the display. I want the display to be, let's say, like interactive to give, let's say, offers direction where to go. If you, let's say, you have a shopping list that you need to go left, right. So you have already a built-in map. Okay. So it can, let's say, give you direction. So I want to know if we can display the map, already defined map, Okay, or just the limitation that I can, let's say, go with arrows only, left, right, or something like that. I don't know if that's clear.
Yeah,
Kind of got it.
yeah, I think again, everything starts with the user experience and the journey. So if you need a map that has colors and lots of instruction or advertising, you might want the active matrix display that Tim showed in the retail section. If you want it
Yeah.
simple, that might be, you know, you want it curved or maybe shatterproof and stuff, then the segmented displays might work, but we kind of need to know what the experience would be. But again, you know, you're getting it because think about a shopping cart, you're not going to have a plug. You try to use like an LCD or an iPad display, it will die in a few hours and you can't see it outside. Whereas the
Yes,
e-ink
that's what I mean.
display could, you know, you could see it outside, inside, and run off a battery for probably a few weeks before charging it. So yeah, put your idea in and see what happens.
Charge it by pushing the cart.
Yes, I was
Maybe
thinking,
do
yes,
some energy
exactly.
harvesting. Yeah, I was
Exactly,
just
yes.
thinking about that. We could
Yes,
do some
exactly,
energy
using-
harvesting on the wheel and charge up the phone.
Yeah,
Charge
but
up
now
the
you
battery.
have people jogging in a shopping mall.
Yeah. Yes, I was really thinking with this, making it with kinetic energy to be charged, and also, let's say, at some points to make sure that we, let's say, have this minimum charge to give points to the people that they are shopping, that they have, let's say, to that's the idea.
Get their
To have
steps in.
minimum distance to be covered, to make sure that's always charged. So you know, your screen will be great because the low power consumption.
Great.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. No, thank you very much. Thank you.
We only have about 8 minutes left, so I'm going to try to get through as many questions as possible. So if folks just want to keep them concise, that would be great. Isaac, go ahead.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Yes, so I actually work with Practical Education Network, and we are into teacher training. And I see this as a new technology from where I am located in the world. And as an organization who are into teacher training and looking at the fact that these kind of technologies are now being introduced in the Ghanaian curriculum, we don't know how best we can actually get some of these things into our senior high schools, because we are now trying to even introduce microcontrollers like ATmega32 and then the Raspberry Pi and the others. I don't know how we can situate this as well in that context. Thank you.
I don't know all the challenges of trying to bring some of these into the education there. I think part of the goal here is to bring a capability a little bit from our side, but to also bring some creativity, hopefully a little bit from your side, and figure out a way to attack the problem from both ends. So I guess the right thing to do there is to start a dialogue a little bit and see if we can identify problems, identify solutions to them, and work through them one at a time. Although I'm not sure I can do them here in real time.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Joyce, go ahead.
Yes, good day, everyone. Joyce Misoi from Nairobi, Kenya. Thank you very much for a very interesting innovation that you have showcased here today. Unfortunately, I dropped off, my line dropped off, and I was not able to see quite a bit of your presentation, but I have an idea of what you're presenting. During COVID 2020, in Kenya, we got it here in March 2020. And in June, I was able to design a mobile technology. It was geared towards the marginalized areas. My goal was really to make sure that the marginalized people really got access to healthcare, response systems, because that was a very critical time at a very reduced cost, so that instead of traveling to the hospitals and finding no doctors there, no medicine, first thing they would have to do is make a phone call. So I'm just wondering if my system, which I probably regard it as a prototype at this stage, because I presented and it was approved by Ministry of Health in Kenya, to be rolled out, but they told me just go and look for your own money. And looking at your system, I think it might be, it might just fall within your criteria, because I'm looking at real-time health data that could be enhanced by your innovation there. Or if we are going to have like a portable diagnostic tool, I think that would be something that might be considered by yourselves. So I just wanted to know that if my system would probably be accepted as part of the, of the teams to be considered, or if it falls within your criteria, let me put it that way. Thank you.
So Joyce, I'll let Tim maybe speak to the tech piece, but Joyce, if you have any questions on eligibility for the Solve Global Challenges, feel free to just email us at the help email. I'll put it in the chat. We can help you kind of assess whether that's eligible. Sounds to me like, and Tim and team, anything else to add there from the tech side?
Thank you.
No, I think that's good.
All right. For folks who, just a clarification, if you have questions about eligibility for Solve and applying to a challenge, please do reach out to us at the help email that Eliana just put in the chat. I do want to prioritize any tech-specific questions. I did see one. So for those of you who have your hands raised, keep them raised if you have a tech-specific question for e-ink. I did see one question about just cost of, I'm trying to find it here. Just around the cost of using in educational settings, of using, say, an e-reader and whatnot. I don't know, e-ink team, if you have anything to speak to there.
Yes, I'll take that one. Thanks, guys. Yeah, in many cases, we provide a component that is built into a device. And if you think about the e-reader ecosystem, the books that are published are the ongoing revenue that's being provided. And those prices are set by the publishers. So that's a complicated system. But in general, we've seen devices that are able to hit the market, let's say sub $100 using e-ink displays. And so that should give you a general idea of being able to work back through the hardware BOM, what might be possible. Depending on resolution and size, there might be ways for us to help support even lower price points.
All right. Israel, hopefully you have a tech question. Go ahead.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much, and thank you for this very awesome presentation. I'm happy for the work that you're doing at e-ink. So my question is that presently, are there any battery-free applications of e-ink in e-readers, apart from, I think I heard something like that when you were talking about luggages, right? But with e-readers, I just want to know, because actually, one of the things Tesla predicted is that, power will be transferred wirelessly, right? And so I believe we are getting to that point. So is there any application in e-ink or research going on towards that to achieve that? Because really in this part, I'm also in Nigeria, this part of the world, I also believe that would help us go a long way, right? To achieving quality education as a sustainable developmental goal. So I just want to get enlightenment on any work that has been done so far, and should we be looking forward to something like that from e-ink?
Are you aware of any battery-free e-readers, or what's the battery-free products? That
No, the InView lock it contains a motor and a battery, but nothing to hold the display.
Yeah, I think for the kind of the Actimatrix screen, since there is a processor, you do need a battery to kind of run it. But I know back when e-ink was the rage before iPads came, there were companies working on solar covers, like so a photovoltaic, a flex photovoltaic, that you had the surface area to protect your screen, and then also to use as a energy harvesting to charge the battery. So that might be an idea where using the surface area and back in the day, photovoltaics might be expensive, but maybe they've come down in price where, again, a case with some electronics to charge the e-reader, maybe now it's more reasonable, because obviously you don't want a free e-reader in $100 case. So we'd have to look together into some of the suppliers of photovoltaics to see if they've driven their kind of cost structure down.
If you
Yeah.
couple that with a super cap or something,
Yeah,
could
yeah.
give you some usage time.
Yeah, I would have said the same thing. I agree.
All right.
thank you. So, sorry. So how do we get design help? You mentioned Steve. So can we email Steve directly?
We
I
were-
don't- Go ahead, Eliza.
I was just going to say, we recommend for folks to, first and foremost, apply to the Global Challenges if you want to be considered for this prize and other prizes. Please don't email the e-ink team individually. You can email us at MIT Solve at our help desk email, which we'll put in the chat, and we can help you from there. I do just want to be respectful of everyone's time. I know there are still questions, but I want to make sure to respect the time that everyone's given here. So for those of you with lingering questions, please do send those to us at MIT Solve. We will kind of batch them and share them with the e-ink team, and can share back with you the responses, especially if there are specific kind of technical questions. If you have questions about eligibility for the challenge, or you're thinking, you have an idea for how you might want to implement, please do reach out to us and we can help direct those questions. All right, everyone. We're going to close out, but first I just want to give a big round of applause and thank you to the e-ink team. This was really, really round of applause. This was really fascinating and such a special opportunity for all of us to spend this time with you and hear more about your work. So excited to see all the applications coming in. And again, please do reach out. Eliana, I think, just put the link with more application clinics in the chat if folks do want to attend another application clinic that's more general about the Solve Global Challenges. All right, thank you, everyone. I hope everyone has a great rest of your day or whatever time it is where you are. Thanks all.
Good morning, good evening.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay. Bye-bye.